All right, here we go. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of start from like the most basic Canvas stuff and kind of work our way to a little bit more advanced. If we don't get to the advanced stuff today, we'll do that as time goes on. Like I said, we've got some time on our hands, tomorrow and into next week before Chromebook distribution. So if everybody will go to their dashboard, you'll notice you've either got blueprint courses or you just have the courses that were developed. So this time last year there was no blueprint. And if you actually look at these blueprints, you do not have to use everything that they put on here. I mean, you can go in and edit this if you're not happy with the way it looks. If you want to change stuff up, put your own images in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to get away from the blueprints. We're going to go back to our dashboard. And what I would like everybody to do is click on Start a New Course, if you don't mind. So we're going to start a new course together. So we're going to say U.S. History Course Shell. And you can name it whatever you want. And we've got our shell ready to go. There's a number of different ways that you can kind of get this going. What I typically like to start with is just getting like a first announcement out there. So we worked with this a little bit earlier. So if you just kind of click on to the announcements, I cannot promise that we have the ability to get these announcements out to the students yet. I don't know if they paid for that feature, but the nice thing about the announcements, even if they are not sent via email, you can keep this as your daily or every other day or even weekly announcement and kind of direct the student back to this. That's what I did last year, and it worked out well because everybody could kind of jump off of announcements and then they would work their way to modules. So typically my first announcement, let's click Add Announcement, is just kind of a quick welcome. So together we'll just sort of create, welcome to U.S. History or whatever class you're teaching. And my welcome or initial announcement's pretty in-depth, but for this, we'll just say, hello, welcome to U.S. History. My name is Mr. E, and I have attached a copy of the course syllabi. Oops. And what I'm going to do, I want to embed my syllabus. This is very easy.
And we wouldn't do that with the syllabus.
I like to put it in as many places as possible. Expectations and syllabi, I put it all over the place. So, if you would like to embed that or any document, it's very simple. You're going to go over here to the right-hand side. You're going to go to Files, and then you're going to go to Upload a new file. Choose File, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off the desktop. Syllabus. So that's what Jeff and I were talking about. I haven't. Oh, nice. Beautiful.
You were saying earlier, right?
If you click blue B and scroll down, it'll say Google Apps, and you have to authorize it, and then it'll give you full access to your Google Drive and just do it that way.
Beautiful. Well done.
Where is this?
So see, two over from the YouTube icon, there's a blue V.
Right here.
If you click that and just scroll down, you'll see Google Apps with the Google Drive symbol next to it. And then you just have to authorize this to use your Google Drive, and then you click it.
That's awesome.
If you do it for all Google Apps, right, that just.
Yeah.
That's, okay.
Yeah, and then you
Two different
could get anything else that you have in Google. Yeah.
And I hadn't used that before because everything's on my computer, so thank you, Kelsey. That's awesome. All right, so
Right, so
whatever file you're gonna get, right, whether it's off Google Drive or whether it's off the computer, let's take a minute to choose whatever file you want.
and so I'm at the Google app thing, what's the difference between embed and the link?
The link will literally give them a link that says
Okay,
core
so they
syllabus
want to embed it,
or
they want
embed
to
to
see
see.
it. Okay.
Right.
Got it, okay.
So once you've chosen your file, you just click upload. Not quite sure why my computer's frozen up here.
As long as it is that they're not, like as long as you're Google setting, you know, testing it, we don't normally see it when you just us to see it.
So once you've chosen whatever file you want, you click upload, and it's going to put it right into the text box. And let's say that's all you really want. You'll just click save, and you have other options, like you could delay the post to whatever time. Like, let's say that we do get authorization for that to get emailed out, and you want that post to go out like Monday morning, but you write it on Friday, you can delay the post to the time you want it to go out. It's a really great feature for online classes. You can allow users to comment, but that's not a feature that I use, but that's something that you could do. Podcast feeds, if you use a lot of audio stuff, you have a really nice opportunity. You can actually do your own video links in here, and we'll take a look at how to do that here momentarily. And then allow liking. I don't really use that for announcements. I actually use that more for discussion. So if students want to just give a thumbs up rather than to give a comment, they have that opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead, I don't want to take any of those options, so I'm going to go ahead and click save. So we have our first announcement.
Yeah, just,
Yep.
yeah, ask that.
Yeah.
You just go to edit. You can go to edit, or Kelsey, tell everybody.
If you have the edit box open like this and you have the whole thing embedded in it, if you go in front of it and just hit the delete button, it'll go away.
We can go in front of it.
Like where you
Got
edit
it.
your actual text is, yeah, and then now hit delete.
Yeah, I was trying to.
Kelsey, is it easy?
What I do in there.
I know. No, are you kidding me?
That's fine.
Please, please. All right,
Already taken away more from this than I have previous ones.
that's what I like to hear. All right, so we've got our announcement. This is another kind of cool feature that we can talk about a little bit later, but let's say that you want to get out ahead of your announcements. You can create your announcements and then have them unpublished. Same deal with your modules. You can have your modules unpublished, and then like if you want to work ahead, as time moves forward, you just release your publications. Very nice. So let's head back. Let's go back home.
So, is that one we just made published or not?
Nope. We have not published anything yet. And even if you did click, if you click the publish button, no one is in the class. It's just a shell. It's only owned by you. That is one thing that we do need to keep in mind when you are developing the content here. You're for the kids to have access to it, you are going to have to click publish, right? Any other questions before we move to modules? All right. So modules is pretty simple. You either click the plus module button or just create a new module. So for this first module, I'm gonna use my first lesson here. And that lesson will be lesson 1, New World Beginnings. And
For modules, should we think of modules as like individual units?
totally up to you.
Yeah.
It's all on you. Like, if you want to set it up by units, the way I do it is I typically do it for dual. I do it by lesson because it's like lesson 1, and then I have all my content. And I've got, so like this one would be like lesson 1. This lesson pairs with chapter 1 in OpenStax U.S. history. So I got my module ready to go. Now, to Jeff's question earlier, the module is not, it's currently not published. You can't see it, right? The way you can see it, but the student can't. So the way for them to be able to see it is to click that little button, publish. So now they'll be able to see that. That's the beautiful feature of like this whole year, right? You're going to develop this content. And then when it's all said and done, you're going to be able to put it somewhere and save it, and you're going to be able to use it again, and you're going to be able to go through all those modules and let them see what you want them to see and unpublish what you don't want them to see. So like I said earlier, you know, it's a year of growing pains, but once it's done, it's going to be nice. So let's build some content in here. We're going to do a few different things. We're going to put some files in. We'll put some clips in.
You're under modules?
Yep. And you can develop them.
Mine looks like I got this.
I
just thought I went
yeah,
over my
you're,
classes.
yeah, I would,
Let me just do the sample one first.
yeah, it's up to you. The reason that I would hold off on that is because I sort of made this mistake last year where I instead of experimenting in a shell, I experimented in one of my classes and I made like a mess of one of my classes where I probably should have just used a shell to play around. So that's just, it's up to you though. I mean, you can go back and,
For the shell, like, basically what you're saying is you're almost better off creating like a government than just inviting the kids in.
no.
Using the ones that.
No, I would use the one, I would definitely use the ones that are created for you.
Right.
But I would say for the next 2-3 weeks, whatever, like what you're developing for your other courses, develop alongside in your shells. Would you agree with that,
Yes.
Greg?
And then you could move it from your shell into your class.
Exactly. And I'll show you how to do that before we leave today.
And so we can play in the shell,
Right.
and once we get it the way we want it, it'll move it'll move it exactly the same way we
Right.
have it into the one that they've already created for the blueprint.
And I wished that's one thing that I wished I would have done last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so we make it all in the shell. Once we got it the way we want it, we slide it over. Or as we go along, we can slide it over.
Right.
piecemeal.
And I will, well,
No, the benefit of that is, I mean, you can do it the other way because you don't have to publish it, but the benefit of that is it's easy to play around with it and then move it. I did the same thing. So once I created it in the live show, I didn't publish it. I think I did once by accident and then it was like, but still, it created a lot more edits on my end because something new like this, you get into it and then you're like, I wish I would have done it
Right.
this way. And it's easier to do that in shell and move it. It's just
right.
more efficient.
Yeah, and so that means you might be making 2, maybe 3 shells, right? To sort of jump off of what, like, the question that Warren asked, and to Greg's point, as the year goes ahead, though, you might, like, feel like you're trying to do too much to keep up with the shell, and then at that point, that's where I would say, you already know enough about it, you can ditch the shell and just create it in the classroom. So I probably,
This is where the warning comes in from the last session.
Right.
The county gets rid of their creative ones in May, so you've got to make sure before you go home.
Everything's-
And my-
You move it to the shelf.
and Michael, I'm so glad you said that. That is, that's a must. And that's gonna be a reminder to everybody come May, make sure you move everything.
So is that in May, or is that gonna be?
We'll find out, but I probably told half a dozen of you guys, like, I was kind of freaked out when I got back to school because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to build all this content. I totally forgot that sometime in June, I had moved everything over to a new shell. So I'd saved myself a significant amount of work. This time next year, I think everybody's gonna be feeling pretty good to just have everything built. And Greg did the same thing. And I think I still have access to one of your courses on there. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just don't wanna do it like, I'm like creating more work for myself to create this in here and then create it again. Like-
No, because you're gonna be able to move it wherever you want. And I'm gonna show you how to do that. Like, you could develop the shell how you want and then move it over to your course. The thing about it is, like, not to get too long-winded on this, you're probably gonna end up tinkering around with multiple pages until you get comfortable with it. And it'll probably take a month or two before you're comfortable with it. And then you'll just you're gonna get into the groove. And it's like Kelsey said, it's like just, kind of getting in there and doing it, it's sort of a trial and error thing. So let's go ahead and build some content in the module. So I'm not gonna put an assignment in here because that's the beauty of the assignment folder. Assignments are separate. I keep them out of modules. If you want to put them in your modules, you can. Do you keep yours separate?
I didn't know.
Okay. It's kind of, it's up to what you want to do. I like to keep them separate because there's less confusion. Like, for my students, they know their modules are content. And then they know that their assignments are, in the assignments folder and the like. So for here, or for what we're going to do here, I'm going to go to File. And we already have that syllabus. We don't want the syllabus. So we're going to click New File. And we're going to click Choose File. And I am going to upload my first lesson for New World Beginnings. So whatever lesson you might want to upload, you've got the file chosen, and you're going to add the item.
Or if you're using Google Drive, you can do the external tool,
Correct.
and then from there, you can pull it from your.
Excellent. Yes. Now, something that Greg probably did, and something that you guys might want to do, is let's say you want to put your assignment in there. My recommendation is go ahead and create your assignments in the assignments folder and then move them in there. Does that make sense? Would you agree with that? Rather than trying to do it all at once. I think that would probably drive you crazy. And that is just something that will just take time,
Create this where?
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a place where you can create an assignment. And then once you've created it, if you're like, you know what, I really want that in the module, because I know Shannon's probably like, I want my assignments in the module. Well, you're going to be able to do that. I just don't do that. I just keep them separate. All right. The next thing I'm going to show you guys how to do is put in a video. So you can put in the video a couple of different ways. So we're going to click the plus button again. And we're going to do external URL. And then we're just going to create a YouTube window. And I'm going to upload the first episode of Crash Course. And I'll just paste that, and then I'll just name it Crash Course U.S. History, Episode 1. The Black Legend. Then I just add that. Now, keep in mind, every time you upload a link, you gotta publish it.
The invention thing is just like, your episode 1 could be invented to the show that's part of like lesson 1, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't really make a difference.
Totally up to you.
It's just like an organization.
Right.
Oh,
Like if I, and you did want to, it's in the levels, it's like, so it's like.
Yeah, so you can do it like if you're doing like an outline format for your lessons.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. So we got our module set up. We're happy with our content, okay? I do want to show you a couple of other things you can do that you might want to do. Greg may have done in the past. I don't do it, but it's all good. If you decide you want to add to your module a discussion, you can do that. I don't do that. Keep my discussions and my assignments separate. Because I have my students, I'll say, hey, today we're working off the discussion board. Hey, you're working off assignments. Just because in my brain, I like to keep the modules where all the content is, right? But if you want to jump off discussion, if you want your discussion to jump off your module, you have that option. All right? Quiz, I've not used that feature because we didn't have access last year. If we have access and you want to develop it, awesome. I will tell you, having the ability through VCCS to develop quizzes and tests in here has been very nice. And it's a lot more user-friendly than any of the quiz production in Google Classroom and in Blackboard, especially embedding images. It's like copy-paste. So simple. There's been one glitch, essays. That's been the only issue I've had. And I think they're actively working on that.
So we would just like, say we had like a Google form quiz created, like instead of embedding that Google form or that quiz on Google into this, we should probably just recreate it under the quiz form.
I think that's up to you. I mean, if you feel comfortable, if we, in a perfect world, if we were using their grade book, which would make a ton of sense, then you'd want everything there. But if you're like if you're playing whack-a-mole for the grades, and you don't mind doing that, and that's like one of the, in something that you're probably gonna wanna think about. Greg and I have had this conversation before. It's that, you've got your grades on there, you're giving them grades, you're giving them feedback. You have to remind them, your grade book here is not your grade book in Synergy.
Yeah, you can, one of the things early on I had trouble with last year was that the grade book in Canvas, not a state called the parents, kids were all nuts, oh my God, turn it off. You can
Don't
turn
even-
it off so no one can see it.
Exactly.
Kind of like the grade book in Google Classroom almost.
Exactly.
Don't even touch it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it'd be too great of a thing to be able to just have it all in one place.
But if you, see, the problem is if you don't turn it off, some things, like if we do, we'll do a discussion, there's a speed grader to go through and grade this discussion, so you may go into some of that.
Yeah.
They go through and do that, and it's an effective way to grade it, to save you some time, it's good. If you do that there and you post the grade for your own reference to pull it and put it in Synergy, it's going to automatically post that grade then in the Canvas grade. And then somebody, it just turn around.
Yeah.
There's turn, so you can still have it post, so that you can see it, but they can't see it.
And that's exactly what I did too.
Okay.
I unpublished it, and immediately, when I had discussion, we both do a ton of discussion, discussion, assignments. I had my synergy page on one side, and as I was grading, I was moving them,
Right.
like immediately. Yeah.
Is that
So,
something you can unpublish right now?
sure.
Can you show me where to go?
Yep, I'll do that.
Turn the grade.
We'll do that momentarily. You just do it in settings. It's kind of like, Shannon, your question earlier about how do we see modules? How do I move modules? What if I want like everything in a nice little box there? You can move that around in settings.
But if we don't have any kids in the shell, it doesn't matter.
Right, yeah,
So we're only turning it off on the ones where they created a
Correct.
ring for us that already have the kids.
yeah,
in.
but we can still do it in the shell.
Okay.
All right, so we know what we're doing here as far as modules. So now let's move on to discussion, all right? I think that this is probably the best feature they have, because you've got group discussion, you got regular discussion, but the awesome thing about the discussion is, we're gonna do our first discussion. Okay, getting to know you. What is your favorite movie? Now, that is going to be our first discussion. We want to know what everybody's favorite movie is. And if we want, we could embed some cool, clip from Goonies off the YouTube icon. Or if you don't even want to type the discussion because you're so organized that your discussions already exist in Google Drive, you can go there. Or like me, all my discussions are already developed on my desktop. So I just go in and boom, drop my discussions in, just not embed, but provide links for my discussions. So you got your discussion questions. This is where I really like this, okay? Allow threaded replies. This is my favorite option. Users must post before seeing replies. So you're not dealing with the plagiarism that you dealt with in Google Classroom and Blackboard. If you want to get real fancy, podcast feeds. If you want to give the students opportunity to do like documentary style or, of sort of audio response or video response. This is the other thing that's a little tricky. Greg is the man. He helped me figure this out last year. It was a huge problem. I should have done this, and I would highly recommend everybody do this out of the gate. Click graded, okay? And here's the reason why. You can just give it 100 points. You can give it 0 points. Whatever you want to do. Here's the reason why I would recommend graded. You want to be able to grade your discussions through SpeedGrader. This gives you the ability to know who's responded and who hasn't. If you don't do graded, you get into this situation where there's 30 replies, and you're trying to figure out who responded and who didn't. And what would I do that for like a month? I was like looking back and forth. So I would highly recommend graded. And then for my college students, I allow liking because I don't click graders because that's obviously me. I just allow liking because like students can respond to each other by just giving a thumbs up.
And you don't have to grade it. Like, do you use this as a graded thing in your grade book? Okay.
I do because I grade discussions
Right.
as
But if I just wanted to,
formatives.
if I just want to use this as like a bell ringer type thing,
Heck yeah, Yeah.
would I still use the graded thing so that I can see who said?
I would.
Okay.
And that's
And even if so I could just give 0 points, it doesn't matter.
0 points. And that's another thing that I did, driving questions of the day, earlier. Do a driving question and an exit ticket. I did it all through here.
Okay.
So it's like, boom, there you go. And what I would typically do with those is do the same thing. Just give them 0 and then grade them immediately. But that was one of the growing pains from last year, is trying to figure that out. If you want to set a due date, you can. I wouldn't worry about it. So you can just save and publish. And if you don't want to publish, you can just save it, and then you can publish it later. So let's say that you wanted this first discussion in the week one, in your first module. You could now go back to that module, and now you can embed that discussion. Did you guys want me to do that real quick? Okay. So we're going to go to modules. We're going to go add. We're going to go discussion. We're going to click getting to know you, and we're going to add the item. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to go past grades, and obviously we don't have any students, but you can see that the grade book's getting populated. And like Greg said, you're not disabling the grade book here. You're going to disable the grade book in settings. So we'll get to that in a little bit. So we're going to bypass grades, and now we are going to move on to assignments. So getting to know you will pop up in assignments because it has a grade value, right? If you want to create a group where like that's in discussion to keep it organized, you can do that. But we don't need to worry about that right now, okay? I can show you how to do that here momentarily. Or do you want me to show you how to do that now? Is that okay? All right, we'll get to this in a second. So let's add an assignment. We want to do our first writing assignment. All right, so assignment number 1 for me is my student autobiography. And I could write up directions, but my rubric and my directions are already in a Word doc. So what I'm going to do is exactly what we did before. I'm going to go back to Files, over here on the right. I'm going to click on Upload a New File. I'm going to choose the file. I'm going to go back to my desktop, and I'm going to click on student, or maybe just autobiography. All right, so we got our student autobiography project. It's in the queue. I got I'm going to go ahead and upload it there. And now, when they click on this icon, they're just going to click there for the directions, rubric, etc. I'm going to give this 100 points. You can do what you want with the assignments. You could give them 0 points, you could give them 100 points. I would recommend giving them their point value because you're going to be giving like legit feedback. That's why I would give the discussions, your bell ringer and your exit ticket, you're probably not, you're not going to do feedback on all those. You're looking at participation. But for discussions and assignments, I would definitely give them a grade value because you are going to get feedback and they're going to see the grade. Even if you disable the grade book, they're still going to see the grade there, and then they're going to see the grade in Synergy. So how are they going to submit? Well, they're going to submit online, of course. So you are going to click text entry. Probably not website URL, but just in case they created some website or whatever, or maybe did a Prezi, provide it. Media recordings, up to you. It's an option, but the important one is file uploads. I don't restrict any file uploads because typically all of the file uploads, this is another nice feature about them versus Blackboard. Blackboard, a lot of the file uploads tended to be corrupted. I have not had that issue with them at all. Like, nearly everything that student uploads is, you can see. This is a group assignment. It is not a group assignment, but if you do create a group assignment, there are other options that you can add on. Do keep in mind that if you publish and a student submits, and you then decide that you wanted to make it a group assignment, it's tricky. They're gonna say, hey, there's already been submissions, are you sure you wanna do this? Michael?
With the file upload feature, last year I ran into an issue where when they were uploading, and most of this was a Google Doc, sometimes when it came to me, I then had to get permission. Because there was two different ways for the students to be able to do it, and I couldn't figure out necessarily who was doing it one way and who was doing it the other, and which one was causing the issue of asking for permission.
Well, and what I would do is, when that happened, so that did happen a few times, I gave them a 0 and I said, you better authorize me as a user or this is gonna stay a 0. And it got fixed pretty quickly.
Right, but do you know what the two different methods the students were using? Because everybody's using a Google Doc and everybody's using this upload feature, but is it
I do not.
is it, were they, the permissions changing? I mean, were they?
It's probably-
Were they making a copy of a copy and then therefore it became theirs?
It's probably the settings they created on their end when developing the assignment.
Because when they click on my link, so if I link a Google Doc to the assignment and they open it, my understanding is that when they populated that document, it automatically became theirs.
Mhm.
It was a copy of theirs.
So
So were they making a copy of a copy and then
Right.
that changed the rights? I mean, I couldn't figure out.
Does anybody know that?
What that issue was. I mean, sure, it's easy enough to go back to the kid and say, blah, 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 I need you to resubmit this, but I'd rather not have to do that hassle. I can tell them up front, this is the way to do it. I can teach them properly.
I would check with your integrator. That's a great idea though. I'm gonna ask Josh about that because I didn't have it happen a ton, but it was enough times where it's annoying. Because then you're having to go back in and regrade.
Or have
And,
your integrator submit something a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
See if it's, see if he can, like, plagiarize something,
Okay.
move it over and see if that's the reason why
Yeah,
it's.
okay.
good idea. All right, thanks, Michael. So group assignment, peer reviews, those are options. I mean, I have not used the group assignment option before. So if you guys end up doing that, let us know how it goes. Peer reviews, same deal as discussion, like they can just give feedback and it's just like replying. And obviously in that format, I'm just like, remember, we want to be respectful. I had a little bit of an issue with like peer reviews last year because all those peer reviews are public, I don't need to name names on who that was. All right, so let's set a due date. Let's do that real quick. And we're gonna set the due date for, I don't know, sometime in September. Let's do the 22nd. And it's available now until whenever because, we're not gonna cut them off on that due date unless you wanna give them 10 extra days and then boom, it's done. So, or yeah, at the end of the 9 weeks. Well, that's something I would always end up doing. I'd go back in, and that's the beauty of this, you can unpublish. So if you went to your assignments, and you've got that into the 9 weeks, you just click that button and nobody can see it. So that's how I would handle that. Good question. All right. So I'm going to show you a couple of things off assignment. I'll show you how students are going to be able to upload it. I'm also going to show you SpeedGrader. So assignment number 1, you've got the assignment directions. Students are going to be able to post. And once they've posted, you have one of my other favorite features in Canvas, and that is SpeedGrader. SpeedGrader Is it gonna let me? Okay. No active students. All right, I don't wanna go, since I'm recording this, I don't wanna go over to my other class and show active students. But for SpeedGrader, if you click on the SpeedGrader, and Shannon and I took a look at this yesterday, you basically, in alphabetical order, have every student's, you can choose, it's either in submission or in alphabetical order, each student's response. You've got your grade window, and you've got your comment, and boom, you click submit, and move on. And they have access to their comments and their grades, all right? Same deal with discussions. This, like I said, the discussion feature and the SpeedGrader feature, two of my favorite features in Canvas, period, because it's user-friendly and it gives you the ability, like no one's slipping through the cracks. Nobody can be like, oh, but I already turned that in. No, you didn't, because here's SpeedGrader. It hasn't been turned in. It wasn't lost. Or you don't have to have those awkward plagiarism discussion, or plagiarism conversations with discussion board and the like.
Is there an autofill feature? Like, I just want to give everybody a 70, or, you know what I mean, just like, boom, all the way down.
No,
You
because
have to go individual.
Because it's an individual, right. Now, you could do that in their grade book, but you're grading each individual discussion inside of it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's move down to files, okay? This is a place for you to, like, if you wanted to go in and just upload a mass amount of files, you could do that. So like, let's say, you know, you want to throw all your U.S. history lessons from September to January into the queue. Boom. You can do that. It'll take time. You can walk away, and a couple hours later it'll be done, or usually like half an hour. The assignments, whatever, this is a time saver, because if you have all that organized in either your Google Drive or on your desktop, and it's already ready to go, then you can go over to the side column and you have everything ready to rock. I kind of learned about this later in the process. Greg, anything to speak to on this?
No.
Did you use this at all?
Yes.
Syllabus, you can just put your syllabus in there. Let's move down to, looks like you got a Google Drive icon. I've never used that before.
Like if you're uploading into the files, it's the same thing, it's on your desktop, but it doesn't seem like it happens.
Nice. There's all your Google Drive stuff.
So we don't have to move files if we got it there already. That's,
Very cool.
okay.
And then let's go all the way down to settings. All right. So let's say you want to make the shell look a little nicer. You could throw an image on there, find it from your computer, Google Drive, and find it off the interwebs. Whoops. You can rename. We talked earlier about renaming your course. So you make sure that you know what course is what.
This is an FYI, sometimes when you rename it, it doesn't immediately change it. Sometimes when the log out, come back in.
Correct.
You're like, didn't I do this correctly?
And then this is also where you can let's see. Trying to see where you would. Visibility. I'm trying to answer Jeff's question about turning off the grade book.
Like, at the top, navigation
Oh, navigation, thanks.
and grade, everything that's at the top can be seen by the student, so,
Disable. There you go.
or you can just drag and bring it all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
Does that correspond to what's like bold and black versus gray? Is that-
Yep.
Correct.
Anything
Tell
you,
what they can see.
anything that you, yeah, anything you dismiss, you put down to the bottom. Thanks, Michael, I appreciate that. And then, all right, so this is where we'll wrap up for today, because I know folks are hungry. Let's stay over here in settings, and let's say that you want to import or export. In my experience, like if you want to move the course somewhere, in my experience, the import is a heck of a lot faster and a little bit more simple than the export. You can export courses, but what I would recommend is go to the course that you want to move the content to, and then you click the import and you pull it over. That is something that we can meet about individually if you guys want. So I can show you how that works. Another thing that I would recommend, if you want to like tinker with that a little bit, create another shell and like move them from shell to shell first, because you can create as many shells as you want without doing any damage to the course that you already have set up for Blueprint.
How do you delete a shell that, let's say you're doing all this experimentation and you're like, okay, I'm done experimenting, I really don't need to show anymore.
Let's see. Oh, maybe it's, oh, here it is. You go to settings and delete this course.
Where were you in settings? I'm sorry. Settings. Oh, I see it.
Yeah. All right, any other questions?
This is a really stupid one.
I know. What's that?
This is a silly one, but I'll ask you anyway.
What's up?
So let's say you're honored World War II stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like you have chosen an image and then you've also chosen a color.
Yeah,
All right, let's say you want to get rid of that color because you think it messes up the image.
I'll show you.
Or, you know, can you
Right,
do a
can you
color
get
at
rid of
all?
the color at all?
Yeah.
I've not been able to do that.
Sure. Hmm,
You don't have to get rid of
wait a minute.
What's the color at the bottom?
Trying to delete the code, yeah.
We go with one message.
Does it really?
Yeah, red, one message.
What?
Or not another
Well,
color.
sorry,
It's okay. Like I said, it's a question I have.
but they don't, in BCS, they're not all, I mean, you can, I don't know.
Well, I
Kinda
like
weird.
the idea of uploading your image, and when you upload your image into your shell, it's just your image.
Huh.
Then when you overlay a color, you're like, ooh, you're really messing. Messes with one side of my brain.
Yeah. All right, I hope that was helpful.
Yeah.
I will take this video and send it out to everybody, if anybody wants to backtrack on that, and then tomorrow, holler at me if you need some help, and same thing on Tuesday, you know, if you wanna go over any of this.